everybody, to our Daily Gun Show. Come to you live every weeknight at midnight Eastern. This is episode 1482. Will we get to episode 1500? That's the big question. So every weeknight we go live, we talk about guns. The goal would be to talk about guns all night long. I invited a bunch of people tonight. The topic is, well, just an open topic tonight. Got a lot of people joining in the live conversation. We do this live because I value the unscripted, just conversation that can be had. I do it overnight because I value the people that are up overnight, getting stuff done, resetting the planet, building stuff, delivering stuff, cleaning everything up. And so we try to do this live so that they can experience something that's actually happening in real time. And everybody that wants to listen in the morning, everybody that's listening in the morning gets something that's fresh and not something that's happened in the evening before. So with that, I'll say hey to some of the people that are joining us live, but I'm also going to say hey to Gizzard. Gizzard Gary is joining us from Kansas. Thanks for jumping in.
Hey, thanks for the invite.
And like I said, I did invite a bunch of people like 5 seconds ago. Like the email just went out, so we'll see who all might be awake and joining in. If somebody's out there and wants to jump in, let me know. And then we'll be saying hey to Woods, who's out there. Good afternoon or good evening. Guns Water. Is that how to say that one? And then Jason. So thanks to the people that are joining us live. Feel free to be part of the show. We're just listening to Guns and Barbecue show over there. And I don't know, I give him a link to this show, but it might be too late for him. He's got the kids and everything waking up. So he might be ditching out after his show. But we ended up talking a bunch about Girl Scout cookies over there. I didn't know anything about the multiple bakeries until he told me about that. Is that something that you'd ever encountered before? I don't know if Girl Scout cookies have ever been on your radar. You've got a daughter, so maybe.
I had read about it before, but that's about the extent of it. I mean, I've bought them many times over the years because we always had girls in the neighborhood, or I had nieces, etc. So, but anymore, most of the Girl Scout cookies you buy around here are like little girls selling them out in front of the grocery store at Walmart or something like that. It's very seldom that anybody ever comes to the door anymore selling them.
Yeah, I don't think it's safe, or they don't expect them to anymore. So I don't think they do. Okay, so
Or out at work, somebody would bring in their kid sheet, and they'd pass it around the office, say, "Hey, you want to order some cookies from my kid?" And invariably it'd be the boss or something like that, and you'd have to order 2 or 3 boxes. That
so
stuff happens.
to experiment, I turned you off of being a moderator. So I don't know if you get an alert on the text chat that you're not a moderator anymore.
No, just my wrench disappeared.
Okay, and then now I can, because otherwise all I can do is I guess I could have screen shared this, but all I can do is, let me screen share it now. All I can do is remove you from being a standard moderator is what it said.
Okay.
So now when I click on the little dots, I can add you as a managing moderator or as a standard moderator. I don't know if you can see that way over there, but that's what's happening. Let me try to make it over here. Is I should tell people I got an alert whenever I opened the show today when I was getting it all set up, and this message came up. Where is it? It's on this monitor. Let me find it and grab it over here. This message came up that says, and we get these every once in a while when YouTube instigates some new policy or whatever. So this message came up and says, new managing moderators can support your channel in even more ways. Blah, 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 blah. So that's where I was like, what's this managing moderator all about? So if I were to take somebody else as a moderator, Woods, see, all I can do is remove him, hide him, put him in timeout, and all the other stuff. So if I remove him, right, now he's no longer a moderator, but now I can add him as a managing moderator. And I can go to Gizzard and add him as a managing moderator. So anyway, got a new YouTube feature. Now these two have ultimate power.
Oh,
They
it
can
popped
go
up
on
on my
screen.
screen. It says you're now a managing moderator for this channel. This creator trusts you to help them build a positive, safe community. Now you can manage blocked words, change chat modes in live, remove and review chat messages, hide or put users in timeout. Okay, so yeah, it did give me a heads up.
So I wonder if you'll get a better wrench or something, a different wrench. So
Hmm.
you would have to say something, I guess, and we'll see if you get like a different colored wrench or some better than a wrench. You'll get a hammer or something.
Looks like the same kind of wrench as
Oh man,
before.
it's nothing. Yeah, how do you even know? So that's lame.
So how do I do all the fancy stuff?
And then my only option is to remove you as a managing. So it's not like you can move people from one manager level to another, which is I don't know.
Right.
It's just interesting for nerds to see how they built the system or whatever. YouTube uses some standard software underneath of it all, so the way that they decide to structure it is I don't know. I don't
I
know.
could see if you were one of these people like Yankee that routinely has 300 or 400 people in chat, it might be kind of handy to do something like this.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. The scale or whatever, or I was thinking more like organizations that just have a lot of people on board. Like the Virginia Citizens Defense League, they do their meetings and stuff. They might uh, do that, or like well, any kind of large group. All right, so that was the one topic for today. And then I guess I should also take a second and talk about the sewing machine. So, Alan Anchor, our friends over in California, have a deluxe robot, a space robot that makes patches out of threads. So, it's a giant embroidery machine. And for whatever reason, they're selling it to me, or they're willing to sell it to me. And it's way too much money for me to just go around buying. And I really can't put it on a credit card. So what I'm doing is raising funds to purchase it through a crowdfunding project over on Indiegogo. So there's a couple of different crowdfunding platforms. There's Indiegogo and there's Kickstarter. Those, in my opinion, are the two largest ones I've used. And this is going to be my 37th or 38th. I'm not sure how they count it, but 30 something projects over on Indiegogo alone. And the goal here is to raise enough funds to purchase that machine, but also to get over to California and spend a couple of days there with it while it's still set up at their place, so that they can show me whatever tips and tricks and how to use the thing while it's still kind of in in place, in the way it's normal, the way it was set up. Then I'll pack it all up and all the stuff they're going to give me with it, all the fancy stuff to do like hats and different other kind of projects or whatever, and then bring that stuff back to Tucson and set it back all up again and start doing whatever I am able to do with that new resource, that new tool. So if you're interested, if I'm doing the math correctly, I need about 140 people to make this reality. And so it's not that many people in the grand scheme of things. So if you know somebody that's interested in helping to get this thing off the ground or to get this thing to happen, or if you're interested in being part of it, I'll drop the link over there. If you're not interested or you're not able, I'm going to ask you to please share that link around, because that's the power of the internet. That's the power of projects like this. I only need 140 people that think it's going to be interesting to see what the world would be like when I have a robot like this. And you never know who you might reach that would be interested in that. So at the moment, I've got it set up to either people can just throw some money at the project, which I much appreciate, and you'll obviously get something in return for that, but there's no perk or anything. And I just left that as an option for people that don't really like patches. Otherwise, there's some patches that we've already created that already exist over at the store, and you can effectively just buy them here instead of at the store. And we appreciate that. That helps get the project going. And then we're going to have whatever it is we sew out of the machine. Since I don't know what that is yet, and I don't really have an idea for that or something in mind, I'm calling that a bunch of question marks right now. So we'll see who participates and if people that participate have something in mind or if they're just okay with whatever happens, and we'll sort of create the design during the project here. I have the ability to digitize and to create patches. However, I've done that with my old machine, right? My kind of smaller machine. So I don't want to oversell anything here. My goal, I think, to ease into this would be to bring my existing files with me to California when I go grab this thing, and with Allen Anchor, push those files into the machine and see if they print or if they sew. And if they do, then I know that I know how to work this machine. But if for some reason there's some kind of learning curve there, I don't want to have people assume I'm going to be able to make custom patches all over the place. Now, assuming I do know how to work this machine and the stuff that I learned with my older machine applies to this machine, then sky's the limit. We'll see what we're able to do. So we'll probably do at least a couple of designs to begin with and let people that participate in the project kind of pick, a few of the first designs that come out of it. But I don't want to oversell. So I'm saying the first designs are going to be, some custom design. And I'm hoping that, again, I only need 140 people here. I'm hoping that I can find 140 people that aren't too worried about the first items that come out. They'll just be satisfied they're getting some of the first items that come out. And if you are concerned that you'd rather get some sure thing, then like I say, there are some existing patches you can already grab, or just hang on. Again, don't be one of the first 140 people. And once I got the thing, grab something from the store once we're up and running. But I am looking forward to it. It's been a while. I know that they've had one a long time ago that I, was always interested in playing with, and they've got this one that they've had for a while now. They do hats and stuff with it mostly. I'm looking to do patches with it, but based on what I was able to play with that little machine, I'm really looking forward to seeing what can be done with an actual industrial machine. So that's the project that's running for this month. I won't take all the time on this show to talk about it, but since I do this show every night, we will mention it periodically and encourage people to help share it, because that's really, like I say, the power of a crowdfunding project is just to get it out there in front of people who may, might click with, who may be interested in seeing it come to happen. I noticed that Raw Feeding dropped a super chat. Thank you for that. We post on the big channel and on the Daily Gun Show channel. The big channel's had its monetization removed. It's one of the reasons I'm stoked about getting the machine. I need to find something to bring in a couple $100 worth of income each month, and hopefully making some patches and making some embroidered products to be able to sell on like eBay and Etsy will become an income source for the company or for us here. Anyway, with that being said, thanks to Raw Feeding for the $2. Much appreciated. Gizzard, we haven't chatted too much, I don't think, since we got back from SHOT, have we? Or I think I've seen you in chats talking about SHOT, but I don't know if was I in your Friday? I guess I was in your Friday.
Yeah, you were in Friday night.
Well, we didn't really get a chance to just talk one-on-one. So what did you think of SHOT this year? I mean, obviously everybody had positive thoughts, but now that you've had some kind of time for the dust to settle and to kind of, count your or lick your wounds and evaluate what all you came home with, how was SHOT?
Well, in some aspects it was good. Others, I wished I'd have touched on a little bit more of some of the gun stuff that I didn't. I concentrated a lot on knives this year, and really didn't have a lot of traffic on some of the gun things. I wished I'd have bided my time a little bit better on that, but you know how it is. You come in with a plan, and then you kind of walk the floor and you see this and you see that, and the next thing you know, 3/4 of the day is gone and your plans are all askew. Now, I had a list of everybody I wanted to see, and I managed to check all those boxes off, made some what I consider some pretty decent contacts with some companies. So I got that accomplished. Spent a lot of time with some of the knife booths and stuff like that, and made some inroads there. Uh, Obviously, range day was kind of difficult. With the wind and the cold and everything, it was difficult for everybody. But yeah, guns and barbecues being funny out there. Um, but all in all, there was a good crowd there. I enjoyed it. I mean, it wasn't so many people that you couldn't navigate, but certainly a heck of a lot more people than last year. Um, and I got to spend some time and meet quite a few people in the press room, which was also good. All in all, I had a good time there. Um, it went pretty well for me. Would I do it a little bit different next time? Oh yeah, but I think we always refine. We always go to a show. It's like, I wish I'd have done this. I wish I'd have done that. Well, we'll do that next year. So uh, that's kind of how it went for me. Overall, pretty good.
Right on. Thanks. I appreciate it because I like to. I'm a nerd, so I'd like to have a show after shot with all the people I know that would be interested and willing to have the conversations, but just talk about like the nerd factor stuff. Like there's the basic stuff like how'd your footwear and your bags and your clothing options and just whatever physically was there anything to chat about or discuss or bring up feedback, I guess. And then the tech stuff, the phones, the cameras, the internet connections, the backups, the physical like obtaining the data. And we have a lot of variety. I mean, a lot of variety. I'm all about the phones this year, thanks to uh, my crew and Pink, who hooked me up with probably old phones, honestly. But my phone was so old that the phones that they gave me, which aren't brand new. I think the newest phone is a year old, which is an awesome phone. And that's the one I'm using all the time now. But the other ones are massively more powerful. So I was just blown away. But I know that Banshee's using the 360. Um, now, I mean, I've listened to you talk about your strategy and stuff, but now that
Mhm.
I've got more experience with phones, I think I probably can at least understand this level of capability that your iPhones have because they're like leaps ahead of what the new Androids have, right? So your phones are super capable, and then the whole like cloud concept. Like I have a lot of shuffling of files and stuff that I do, but I bring it on myself because I for whatever reason I like making sure my files are all backed up manually, but I understand with Macs you don't really need to, or
Well,
Apple's
one
you
of the
don't need to
things
do that
about an
stuff.
iPhone is you can't add storage to it. So we all
That's because you don't
spec'd
really
out our
need to.
phones to have
They
at
work
least
with.
half a gig of internal storage. So that's not a problem at the show. You can pretty much record whatever you want to record and not have to worry about deleting stuff or anything like that. That's a thing.
But it's a system. It's something that you just have to prepare for. You don't have to. You're not crippled by it or handicapped by it. You're able to work around or work with that
Oh,
variable
yeah.
pretty easy.
But you mentioned the cloud, and it's like Smeggy said, screw the cloud. The internet service in there was, well, the Wi Fi was next to non existent most of the time. So I was running off of my 5G signal. So I did not rely on the cloud much. In fact, most of my cloud synchronization took place at night after I got back to the Airbnb. But luckily, that wasn't an issue. I had everything on the local on the phone, and that's all I used as a phone, by the way. So that worked out well for me. I was able to basically, I never emptied out my storage on my phone. I pretty much stored the entire show on there. So that worked out well. And I did, as you know, I had two sets of lapel mics, which we thought about that before going into the show. I bought a set of the Ceramonic Blink Go D2s. So I had a wireless mic for myself and for the person I was interviewing. Everything worked great. Sound didn't pick up any extraneous sound. Um,
Did you
other
use
than
any range day? Did I ask you that?
I did not. Now, Sarge had a few wind issues when he was turned the right direction, but most of the
So I can
people were
imagine that, like if the wind's blowing straight at the mic hole or something, but that would
right.
you'd
Most of
almost
the
have to.
people realized it after a while and turned their back to the wind, and that pretty much took care of it.
Yeah, and then
Well, more than I would have thought. Uh, Given the weather and everything, I thought the audio was pretty good from range day.
I was I was so impressed, and I can't. I mean, I must sound like a either an old man or somebody who's never been to the city before, but it's just because I mean I can't. I don't even. I have to go figure out when I got my phone, but my phone's been so capable all this time, and I asked so little of it that I think that's a testament to you don't need a lot of tech, but once now that I've experienced like what these phones are, like how what a jump there is, like anyway, yeah, these things are definitely there's a lot of
Well, I haven't
potential.
been doing this near as long as you have, but back in 2020, we hauled GoPros and all kinds of extra equipment. You had rigs that hung around your neck. You'd have backup batteries hanging out of your pocket so you could recharge the GoPro batteries. So because they'd run fairly quickly, they'd deplete their power, and you were constantly having to have a backpack full of heavy equipment, and it was cumbersome to be a media person at SHOT Show. And then there was less of that last year, and then this year with just the phone, it was the ultimate freedom. I mean, I could walk up to people literally, and if they wanted to do an interview, I'd get the phone out of my pocket, grab the mics out of the other, and within 15 seconds, I was ready to go. And I wasn't carrying anything heavy with me, and it just made it so much pleasant and easier to conduct your business as a media person at SHOT Show. I thought so anyway.
And there's a couple of things there. So to answer Raw Feeding's question, what phone am I running now? The phone that I'm talking about being amazing is an A71 from Samsung. Does that mean anything to anyone? An A71. So I don't know if that, I'm kind of new to this. So anyway, there was when you're talking about the amount of stuff that you guys have used and think about like Clover, I've watched them do stuff. You guys remember Haas? I don't know if you ever met Haas, but you've heard me talk about Haas.
I
If you
heard the
haven't,
name, I don't remember him.
so I'm trying to think of like I started in 5, and then somewhere in there I figured out about Gun Blast, and I think they must have started the same time or something. And there was already a couple of people, Milspec Monkey, a Military Moron, and I can't think of the other guy, but there was 3 people that were definitely doing coverage of SHOT Show before me that were internet focused. But when YouTube started, I mean, I was definitely the first YouTuber going there and doing anything, and then it wasn't until like 14 or something that like Haas and everybody started showing up in like maybe 12, and then it was like 14 that Nothing Fancy and Military Arms Channel showed up and started putting coverage of SHOT Show up, and that's when you start to see probably 12 and then 14. I want to just say, let's just say every other year there'd be like a new wave, and at the beginning in 12, it was the camcorder looking things that had the flip open side, and the things were kind of the size of they were fairly large. They'd fill your whole hand. They were getting smaller, but they still were pretty large. And you'd put these giant things in your hand, and then some people would get the little fuzzy mics, and some people would get different this and that. And it wasn't SLRs for sure. It was more like little tiny camcorders, like VHS camcorders, but really small. And that was the thing to have. And then it became SLRs. I mean, I guess I'm not going to try to read off all of them, but there was these phases of like different groups of people attacking SHOT Show. Because usually I think that you go to SHOT Show, you figure out what you can do, you get your bearings, and then maybe like your 3rd or 4th year, you just attack the show. you just go nuts and you take, you do whatever you're going to do. You figured out your tactics and you really go nuts. And I think there's, different people joining in at different times, but over my experience, there's been these like eras. And that's the thing when you guys came in with the phones and I don't know, did one of you have PVC? Did Clover make it out of like PVC pipe or somebody made it out of PVC? And then
I
there was
think
some
so.
metal
I
thing.
remember that.
And I think you guys got the idea from going to the JM Davis. And it was like kind of ideal for JM Davis because of the way there was glass and you had all the time in the world and there was no noise, but you still had echo. So I think that you guys kind of tweaked it between JM Davis and then, of course, Wanamaker. And then, but like I say, that was like fascinating because it was essentially phones, right? The phone was the phone was just monitoring the GoPro. You guys were kind of GoPro focused,
Hmm.
using a little tiny, super dense little fancy camera, and then using these external peripherals, I guess, to gather better, whatever, audio and sound and stuff, whatever, lighting and stuff.
Right.
But anyway, yeah, so that part of it has really been interesting. And I guess I was just kind of pondering or wandering around there thinking about all that. But then that's what I'm trying to get at is that over the years, there's been so much stuff, so much elaborate strategies and I'm just say complicated for lack of a better word, but like not necessarily overcomplicated, but just complicated compared to this A71 phone because it's been sitting for like a year or something. This was Pink's old phone, right? So it's been like sitting in a drawer, and all the other ones are even older. And the other one I got was also really old. So everybody was like, "Here, you can use this," but we're hesitant to say use it for SHOT Show because the battery might be no good anymore, and we don't even remember, how good the battery was in the first place. Anyway, needless to say, long ass story short, I would charge that phone in whatever. It would be 100% when I left the hotel. I would go to SHOT Show. It has a 128 gigs of RAM in it, or whatever, 128 gigabytes of memories in it. And my old phone is 16. So right off the bat, it's like 10 times larger almost than my old phone. So every single video from all of SHOT Show is on there. I never had to remove them. Like the entire week of SHOT Show is on there, and it barely put a dent in the hard drive. And I would leave the hotel at 100%. I would come home from the hotel after an entire day of SHOT Show recording just gigabytes of data, huge files, and tons of pictures, and it would be at like 76% battery life. They're like magic. Like at first, I was carrying around 3 or 4 of them because I'm like, I don't know how fast the batteries are going to die, and I don't want to carry around battery chargers. I'll just carry around different phones, and I got a bunch of them here, and that'll help me test which ones the batteries last on. Like there are a couple that the batteries last for like an hour or two, and they're effectively kind of, just old phones that won't keep. I'd have to replace the battery or something. But this one was crazy good battery life, and I'm assuming your iPhones are the same, right? Like you don't have to even think about recharging the battery until maybe a
No,
couple of days later or something.
no, it'd go all day long,
Yeah.
easily.
So it just, and again, I'm acting like old man or somebody who's never been to the city before, but holy moly, they're like magic.
Now, if you want to swing away from tech a little bit, one
Sure.
thing I did notice about this show is that the individual companies seem to be a lot better prepared for interviews than before. They all seem to have media people pretty much in their booths, and you ask for an interview, they weren't stumbling around thinking, "Well, what do you want to see?" Man, I don't know what I'm going to say. I did have one or two of those, but for the most part, you had a professional person right there, and it kind of made it a dream because all you had to do was follow them around and mic them up, and you had a real nice video because they had their speech down, and they did a good job. So it's a lot easier, I thought, to do interviews this year than it has been in previous years.
Right. I can't imagine anyone goes to SHOT Show to work in a booth who doesn't understand up front that they're going to be in a lot of YouTube videos. And like you say, by the middle of day one, Tuesday, they're going to be pretty good at it. Like they're going to have figured out whatever it is. And by Thursday, they're like really good at it. by Friday they're probably getting sick of it. So it's, there's kind of a curve
Yeah,
or
I
whatever,
didn't
right?
even
For
try to do
humans.
any interviews on Friday.
You know what I did on Friday is shorts. I would walk up and the
Mm-hmm.
people would be stretching and like yawning and like, and I would go, I think I probably told you this. I would go up to like the we or whatever, Civivi we, and I would go, do you mind if I do a whole bunch of shorts? And he goes, yeah, do your thing, man. And I didn't say a word for like a half an hour. It would be look at the banner, look at the knife, take a still, open it, take a still, flip it over, take a still, close it, take a still, open it again, put it on the rack, show back to the sign, end the video. And that would take 40 seconds. And then start the next video, do it again. So, 30 minutes later, I would have done 30 videos like that. And they're just sitting there yawning and stretching and thanking me for not bothering them, and just, harvesting shorts essentially. And I
Well,
did
I
that at
made the
booth
mistake of
after
trying to
booth.
do that on Tuesday, which is, day one as far as the floor goes.
And then it's just a
Well,
bunch of people getting in the way and paddles.
yeah, people were wanting to come up and see the knives, and it's like after a while, it's like, I'll come back because you've got customers. These people are more important than I am. I'm just media. So sometimes you got to know, sometimes it's best just to maybe back out and come back later. You'll have a lot better relationship with these companies if you cooperate with them like that.
Yeah, for sure. Um, um, oh, I guess let me take a second here. I am trying to see. I thought I sent a bunch of people links, and maybe one thing I send it to myself is a blind carbon copy, and I'm sure that some people's email systems see that as a potential, what's the word? A potential spam or something.
Oh, I do that all the time. When I send out my foul territory, it's from Gizzard Gary to Gizzard Gary. So,
But then I wanted to say to Raw Feeding, he says, I'll message you on Patreon to get a PO box and get them sent out. If you use them, awesome. If you can, you can make some bucks on eBay. I really appreciate that. What I'm doing with the phones is evaluating them because, like I say, I'm just like a noob essentially because it's been such a while since I've looked at them. I'm going to be making like a YouTube channel. I'm still kind of debating if it's going to be a separate YouTube channel or if I'll just have it as a section of the gear websites channel. But either way, I'm going to do a channel one to just describe the phones, but then for the older phones, there's like a lot of things, quite a few things that you can do with older phones that kind of thinking outside the box can do things because they're very, very powerful little devices. And I'm sure a lot of people have older phones. So anyway, yeah, I definitely have some ideas of ways to utilize them. So I appreciate the resource, and yeah, I'll definitely send you my address. So anyway, I just wanted to mention it's not like I'm just going to sell them on eBay. I've definitely got some plans for them.
cool.
And then Guns is saying I've got a USB hard drive plugged into my router. I still need to do that. My plan is to have a bunch of hard drives in an enclosure as like a shared network resource and backup type of thing, in addition to all my other backups. I thought about it and I've efforted towards it, but every time I do, it ends up pricing out to more money than I want to spend. So I still have to do it. But I did get a new USB drive for SHOT Show, and I can plug it straight into my phones now, which is like magic again. So, what do you guys do as far as backups, on-site backups?
I mean, we all had solid state hard drives. I had like I think it was a half a terabyte solid state drive, and you could plug that into the phone, or you could plug that into your laptop or your tablet or whatever, and pretty instantaneous backup on stuff. So it's a real good way to not only safeguard your data, from loss and stuff like that, but a good way to quickly transfer it from one place to another, or just have a central place to keep it all. So that was a good investment. I mean, the old portable hard drives were pretty nice in their day, but they were pretty slow as far as reading and writing data. These new solid state drives, especially if you spend the money and get one that's kind of like a gaming drive or something like that, they are lightning fast. And some of those files get pretty big when you're talking about, rather long interviews and stuff like that. And you want to be able to get that to the machine where you're going to do your video production or whatever. So that worked out well. And that's something I can use at home and on the road. So, you look at everything from a dual use standpoint. Yes, it's good for SHOT Show and RAM, but you can use it other places too. That's kind of a win-win.
Well, I use them as a second backup. So, I've got things, I don't know why, probably just because I'm old or something. I'd like to have things backed up in case. Well, I lost all of 2019, so I'm not like infallible. It's because I was sloppy for a while and I lost literally everything from 2019 when one drive failed on me. And, drives essentially cost $50 at Walmart or whatever, and that's where I usually end up buying them, even though I could probably get them cheaper on Amazon. You buy them at Walmart and they're name brand, and if you really want, you can get the what's it called, warranty or whatever, extended warranty, something.
Yeah.
But anyway, $50, you get a regular record type of hard drive, the one that has a physical disc that moves. So they're not like the super fast ones. They're not super durable, but I'm not throwing them around the room either. They're just about the size of a pack of cigarettes, and with a cord hanging off of them, and you can plug them either straight into the new phones, or I should say the phone, or like you're saying, into the computer. So anyway, what I'm saying is I buy one typically at SHOT Show, because usually by then it's beginning of the year and everything. I filled up the old one, and I don't buy a huge one. I buy a 2 terabyte usually, and then I'll put all my show stuff on it while we're traveling, and then the rest now it's just plugged into my computer. And every once in a while, I'll have to pull last year's from out of a drawer and get something off of it. And that's why I kind of want to have something shared also, some kind of a drive bay I can put it into or something. But for the most part, this new one just becomes another shelf that I can, every time I make a video or every time I'm posting something, I can leave a copy on this, drive that started at SHOT Show. And then just at the end of the year, when the new SHOT Show drive happens, I unplug it and, write the name of the year or whatever on a Sharpie and then put it in the drawer. So it becomes my like physical backup also.
Sure. That's a good idea. Now,
and then I have a third, which is the fast kind, whatever, the solid state. And that one is sort of my, if I need to move stuff around or I just want to have a third redundancy for something super good, and I don't want to ever have a chance, like the books, if I'm writing a book, I'll have that on every hard drive just in case of some drive fails or whatever. So anyway, that one did cost more. I forget, maybe $100 for 1 terabyte. I forget what they cost. I guess that probably fluctuates with chips or something.
yeah.
But that's a solid state. It's plugged straight into USB 3 or something. So it's like you're saying, just lightning fast. And I only back up the more important stuff as a third backup to that. And then a couple of things, like maybe some files that I want to have access to, but I don't need them on my hard drive, or I mean on my computer. And then I don't know if you mentioned this and I just missed it, but, and you probably don't have to deal with this on a Mac because you have RAM drives and stuff, I think. But there's a hard drive in your computer all the time. I attempt to not use that hard drive at all if I can help it. I try to keep everything on external drives and leave that main hard drive for temporary files and for my software to just lay down and do whatever it needs to do, so that I'm not asking too much of that hard drive that's built in. And I don't know if that's
Yeah, for the most part, I think that's a good strategy. Yeah.
I think it's a little overkill. It's kind of like a gamer strategy or something, but I'd rather run my computer like a fast car than like a station wagon full of stuff.
Well, that gives you room for temp files. That gives you room for OS upgrades. Sometimes, they need extra space so they can write
Yeah, like over
files and
time.
stuff like that. And now you've got plenty of room because you're not taking it up with data file storage.
Yeah, exactly. I don't need a bunch of extra old videos on here. And yeah, like the bloat that's going to happen with the operating system, I don't have to be so worried about it. I can let it happen, I guess. And which is
Yep.
probably not the greatest idea, but anyhow, yeah, you get that I'm saying. And that's just probably because I'm old and I've been using Windows for way too long, and I got trained by Microsoft, and I just saw the problems people had with Windows XP, and I'm probably still hanging some of that theory on my stuff now.
I miss Windows XP. That was a great operating system.
It was so neat working for Microsoft between NT or whatever it was called, not NT, Millennium, and then 95, right? And then going into XP, because it was like going between trying to teach people how to drive a stick shift over the phone to how to drive automatic over the phone. Like now it was just like drive forward, okay, drive backwards, instead of like stick your clutch in and then try to wiggle the knob and then, you know, go up or down or whatever.
Oh yeah, there were people that kept XP machines for many, many years. I mean, even through, the evolution of Vista, which was a complete cluster. Uh, and people were just holding on to their XP machines until practically Microsoft told them, nope, you're going to have to get rid of them. Sorry, we're not going to support them anymore. That was really sad for a lot of people. Although I will say, and although I don't have one here, I worked with them professionally at work for a number of years. But Windows 7 was actually a fairly decent operating system.
Yeah, there was only a few of those like in between ones that were really weird, but most of the windows are super solid. Like as long as you didn't do weird things to them, I guess. I don't know what happened to G23. I hope we didn't bore him to death, but he is dealing with some stuff, so maybe he just got tired. But when we do open chats like this, you're gonna run the danger of me getting nerdy. I can't help it. Okay, so I think I was saying thanks again about the phones and wanted to clarify that, but I had gone over, made sure that some links are out there. I've seen Smeggy's seen that. So if you're out there and you want to join in, let me know. Um, let's see. So Pants is saying pistol brace identifies as a solid state drive. That's interesting.
It's very interesting.
Because what if you put some kind of computer device onto a thing and then it was used in a different way physically? Like, I mean, I've only seen a couple of electronic things put onto firearms at this point, cameras and counters, and then I guess now training aids, things that'll like use gyroscopes or something or whatever they use in video game controllers to do the awareness of where it is in space. But I wonder what would happen if you started putting so much electronic stuff onto firearms that they started changing the physical shape and started becoming NFA issues.
Well, you've already got so many lights and red dots and everything that's attached to them now. If you've got just a plain old pistol with iron sights, people act like you're from the Stone Age or something like that. Can't you afford a red dot? When are you going to join the revolution? Well, yes, they're helpful and all that, but some people just prefer to shoot with open sights.
Okay, I just invented the next big thing in the firearm industry. So if
Cool.
there's any inventors out there, you're welcome. Uh, what about a backup like battery pack on your gun to power your flashlight and your laser and your red dot, and you just run like wires or whatever to your stock?
Yeah, I don't know why they don't do that. Like you could have batteries in the side compartments of a stock easily enough. You can run a conductive wire, like literally into the materials, or a conductive coating or something that creates like a universal attachment electronic conductivity point or something. You could probably do something where you put a layer of Cerakote down, then a layer of conductive material, then another layer of Cerakote, and then somehow use that in between layer to be a conductive ground or something. Like, yeah, there's there's definitely the potential there.
But
There
wireless
are
charging, that's the thing.
well, there are some universal, I guess, or you could say some modular things for weapons lights. So for the scout lights and for the lights that are mounted on the rail that have a lot of throw, like a large light, that'll have like a pressure switch to turn it on and off so that you don't have to like move your hand and actually touch the back end of the flashlight. They'll put a remote pressure switch that comes off the back of the light with wires, and then as a temporary or on-off switch someplace else on the gun on the rail, so that you can not have to adjust your grip for, let's say, breaching or some kind of offensive thing. But so there's barely some stuff where the rail components integrate electronics for that, but because each company has its own form factor and everything, they're not playing well with each other. There's no standardized rails, let alone any kind of standardized attachment things. I think that's a factor. But yeah, because you would think you could put some stronger, larger batteries in the stock and it would make the gun overall way or balance better, correct? In some cases.
Yeah, it's a possibility. I know that some of the red dots actually are capable of being solar charged. So if you're out shooting in the broad daylight, they can actually recharge their battery as they're going. Which is good because most of those things, well, just about all of them rely on a watch battery. Which
Well, that's the thing. And I don't understand why they don't use thermocouples someplace, like right in front of the chamber or someplace, and charge off of the rounds going off, or pull charge the same way that some of the there's some things that'll charge a phone, like a pot that'll charge a phone while water's boiling inside of it with a bunch of thermocouples underneath the pot.
Yeah, I have a feeling that the technology we know today will probably change in the next 2 or 3 years. Just too many advancements on things, and you're already seeing some of it. So
Like a muzzle brake you could put on there and then just have some wires coming off of it that power the optics, or that keep the optics topped off or something.
you never know.
Or I guess
Or
you
they
could have
can.
something in the gas block that gets super hot. You could have a gas block made out of a thermocouple on each side.
Everyone runs suppressors. You use the hot gases to do that thermal electric thing.
Oh yeah, there you go. That would be another way to. Then it would
Cruise
help
the
dissipate the
NFA
heat.
first, and we're good to go.
Well, I haven't figured out why they haven't made some attachments you can put, right alongside your barrel to where, if you're out shooting for a long time, you could set your hot dog up in there and it would cook it. And then when you're done shooting, you just take out your food and it's all hot and ready to eat.
I
Didn't
think
think of
I'm
that.
trying to think if somebody made something for that. I know I've, definitely videos have been made with people playing around. But I'm trying to think that somebody may have put something, even if it was just for the video. But I think I'm.
Yeah, they may have put bacon on an AR barrel or something like that.
I was thinking of that, or like, but I think what I'm thinking of is somebody that did something to put a piece of fruit in front of the thing, and they just ended up doing something like that, shooting the piece of fruit or whatever.
See what you could do is get something that's like a cigar tube kind of thing, but like made out of metal, and then run like copper from the barrel to the tube, like as a heat sink, and then you just slide your hot dog in there, screw the cap on, like you said, go shooting all day, and then unscrew it and take your hot dog out.
Yeah, there's ways to put valves and like a sodium solution or some kind of a solution that'll take a lot of heat, and then use the valves and the expansion of the material to make it flow. Like the kind of a non-powered flow. I don't know what that's called. There's a name for it. Fluid, blah blah blah, something. Anyway, you can set up a physical pipe that'll kind of have some levers or whatever, kind of like baffles inside a can. And then it creates a pressure differential, which kind of squirts the materials through. So yeah, you could do something like that, I would think. And then every time you shot, it would kind of pump hot, whatever, sodium water. Probably the sodium water would be the way to go. It'd be neat. You know, in like a fluted barrel, you run the copper along those flutes and then over to like a spiral thing, so you shove a hot dog in there.
Yeah, we're just full of good ideas tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had another way to go here. I was gonna say, going back to SHOT Show, and I don't know if Gizzard, if this was something that's strikes your fancy, or if you wanted to check it out at all. The Hollow Sun booth, they had some digital thermal and digital night vision. Did you check any of that stuff out?
I didn't. I think some of the others did.
So I've got my folders open. I'm going to see if it's possible for me to find my videos of fiddling with that. I'm not going to say it's magic, but it's pretty freaking close to magic. Have you looked at any? Have you got either one of you guys looked through any IR night vision or any thermal optics before? Any of them?
I think I may have once, but it's been a while.
Okay, so you haven't had like an evening with them on, or like
No,
some
no, no,
dots
no,
or
no.
anything like
Nothing
that.
like that.
What about Smeggy?
No, I haven't played around with anything cool like that.
What about like in any of the factories? They haven't had like some kind of a thermal scope or some kind of a thing for evaluating flow or something?
Yeah, so I mean, I have used, what's that, for like a FLIR, or, you know, it looks like a radar gun kind of thing, and then the
Oh
screens
yeah,
on the
no,
top.
that's exactly what I'm talking about. FLIR is
Yeah,
like magic.
I've played around with that a lot because we use that to see. Actually, it's really good when you're running ductwork from like a heater box up into an oven, and you put like 6 inches of insulation all around it. While you
Yeah.
fire it up, you take the thermal gun out, and if you see heat, then you know that a weld snapped, and then you go back in and weld it back up.
Yeah, no, exactly. And then
I've totally done that.
you've pointed that at people before, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I'm talking about. That's all. I mean, that's all. What do you call it? A thermal is. It's just a tiny FLIR stuck on top of a rifle. So let me see if I can get this thing to do it. So normally, I don't know what magic thermal uses, some kind of radioactive magic, I guess. But this is a digital thermal. So this is, I don't know if I show the size. Can you see this?
Yeah.
I'm showing it, right? This is basically a stock with a rail. You can kind of see a stack of them on the right over here. They're just rails and a stock with this optic on it, so people don't freak out that you're pointing this thing at them. But I don't know if you can really tell, but this thing is smaller than a soda can. I mean, it's quite a bit smaller than most infrared stuff, and thermals aren't usually always that big, but this is definitely not that large a unit. And what I'm doing now is just holding this one up and looking through it, and you're getting essentially the white hot thermal, which is not all that interesting. But what would be interesting is if these dudes were standing on the other side of a bunch of grass or stuff that I could see through, then I'd still see them back there, even though I wouldn't be able to visually see them. But this video isn't all that interesting. It just shows, it's one of the ones where I actually have the camera held up and you can actually see through it though. So you can tell that it's pretty decent heat or FLIR, what am I trying to say? Thermal. But here's another video, some other guy looking through it. And this one has a magnifier pushed off to the side, and you get a better idea of the unit. And now he's flipping down a cover over the front there, and that's another aspect to this thing. So it can be heads up, or it can be straight in thermal. And so if you want, if it's at night, let's say, you might as well go straight thermal. But if it's daytime and you're looking for some kind of critter and it's hiding behind some leaves or in the brush or something, then you don't want to close your eyes and only use thermal. You want to have like a heads up, let's say. And that's what I think I show in this video pretty well. So this would be at night. Like, who cares, right? You're just looking for heat signatures at night. But if it's daytime and you want to see where those critters are, those hogs are in the weeds, or where those deers are, well, when you flip up that viewfinder, it's essentially a thermal heads up. Heads up is what they call it, right? Where it reflects it up into the optical view. So now you essentially have like a EOTech, a red dot optic. I guess it's a hollow sun red dot optic. But what they're doing is they're throwing up a heads up of the thermal image. Okay, so that's all super neat. Like, those things have existed, I guess, before. But typically your thermal, I mean, have you guys ever priced thermal before? Let's go do
I'm
it.
pretty sure they're expensive.
Yeah, I'm gonna go find out. Like, where's a place to buy thermal at? Like Sportsman's, maybe? I'm just gonna type in thermal scope and see what it tells me to where I can buy it. So here's a FLIR for 649. Here's another FLIR for 3,000. Thermal scope for rifles, and they're fairly large. This one, let's find an actual thermal though. So here's one at Shields. That's a real store, right? That's that store wherever. 2,600, and it's a decent optical rifle scope, 2 to 8 variable by 25, but with this digital, or this well, it might be digital thermal in it. But anyway, that one's 24, and then there's 15 thermal scopes from some American Gun Facts. Am I allowed to talk about how much scopes cost? I forget. I guess I'm already demonetized. And they're not going to show us. This one's 1,000. Did it say under 1,000? Anyhow, the big news is that the one, they have two of them at Hollow Sun. The one of them is, what am I looking at now? Oh, I had my videos up. That's what I was. The one of them was 1,700 and the other one was 2,400. So essentially inexpensive hybrid thermal. Well, the 2,400 would have been infrared and thermal in the same unit. And then the 1,700 is, I guess, thermal by itself, or is it infrared by itself? Anyway, they're not really on the market yet. They're just showing what's coming, but just super neat. Thermal is such a neat thing to have available that it's just neat to see it hitting the market, so to speak. And I guess these are digital as opposed to the other technology, the actual technology that they use for military stuff, probably because the military stuff has to be way more rugged, or like, somehow work under G forces or something that they probably don't need to worry about for Hollow Sun. I'm guessing. Like, I don't know. Still not cheap. Yeah, not cheap, but definitely less than, I mean, some of the stuff that I've seen out there is like $10,000. So this is just the idea that we're going to start hopefully seeing some things that are much closer to being attainable by regular people. And I always like the stuff that's going to cost $2,000, because in a couple of years that's going to be on the secondary market and be 1,000, 1,300 or something. A couple more years after that, there'll be 2 or 3 evolutions better, and that stuff will start getting really cheap, hopefully. Well, we're an hour in, and it is the middle of the night, so we do have quite a few people joining us. If you've got something to chat about still, let me know.
I have something to chat about.
Go ahead.
So I watched this documentary the other day, and I don't know, it really like it made me think, and I need some gun people's opinion on it. And I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the story, but basically, the documentary is called Second Chance, and it's about the guy that invented soft body armor, and that was like his company name or whatever. And it just like it's hard to describe. Like it's a really well done documentary for the fact that they show like a lot of different points, because basically like the dude did a lot of good. Like he saved a lot of cops and stuff for like getting killed, but then also he like kind of sucks and he did some shady stuff. And it's like, I don't know, it's really interesting, and I don't want to like spoil things, but I'm interested if anyone like is familiar with the original story and then has insight. So I kind of more throwing it out as a primer of like encouraging people to watch that documentary because I think it's interesting. I'm not saying it's awesome. Like there are definitely some times where I was like yelling at the TV, and there's other times where I was like, oh, never thought of it that way. So I don't know if either of you guys are like familiar with the dude.
I'm not.
No. So you're saying that there is a dude that invented soft body armor?
Well, maybe that's not the right word, but he definitely was so it was in the 70s. He like came up with the idea of using like Kevlar and stuff, and he became like the biggest manufacturer. So I don't know if someone else invented it first technically.
What's the name of it again? Second Chance?
Second Chance, yeah. And it's 2ND, because there's some movie about, I think, like cheerleaders or something called Second Chance. And that's what kept coming up when I was looking for it originally. But basically, this dude owned a pizza place in Detroit, and one of his delivery drivers was robbed. And then a week later, they called up and ordered like another pizza. And he was like, okay, I'm going to take the delivery. And he took the delivery to the people. They called him around back, right? They're like, oh, bring the pizza around back. And it was a 22 revolver, and he was holding it underneath the pizza boxes. And when he came around back, there was 3 of them. They started shooting at him. He shot back at them, and I think hit a couple of them. The third one hit him. And then like right after that, his pizza business burned down. He had 2 locations. They burned down the same night from arson. So he's pretty sure like it was a retaliation kind of thing. And right after that, he's like, all right, people need protection. And he started working on this like body armor thing.
Where did you find the movie at? I'm not finding the movie
anymore. So my girl saw it on Netflix like a couple weeks ago, and then I think they took it off there. I had it on demand. It was just like through Xfinity. I found it. I had to rent it. It cost a couple bucks.
Okay. It says chronicling the man who invented concealable. Yeah, I think I found it. It's only made in 2022, so it's fairly new.
Yeah. And the dude is definitely like, he's kind of weird, which was funny watching it with my girl who's like not in gun culture at all. And this guy is almost like Demolition Ranch before YouTube had existed. Like he made these commercials for the body armor, but they were like blowing up cars and shooting propane tanks and like doing, I will call stupid stuff. But also it's like, this is like the early 80s or whatever. That kind of just how people were back then. I don't know. It was weird, but it was kind of funny watching her like roll her eyes because he's got girls in bikinis and all that kind of junk. And I'm like, okay, like I get it. He was marketing to a certain demographic that has changed now. Like I don't think companies do that kind of stuff now. But it was interesting seeing her response.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm watching the trailer, and it's crazy. So yeah, you can watch it on Amazon Prime for $4.99, and I don't think I got a Prime, so I'd have to. I think you don't have to have Prime in order to just pay them to watch it. I think you can just watch it off Amazon for $4.99 or whatever.
Yeah, I think that's correct if you're renting it. Like having the Prime is what gives you a bunch of free ones, and then there's also like ones you can pay for. But I don't know, maybe somebody put it up somewhere or whatever. But
now that's what I'm looking at. So definitely
it
looks
might not be
interesting.
exciting enough to be
See why you
pirated.
can- Huh?
Well, I was just gonna say it might not be like exciting enough to be like pirated or whatever, like a new Marvel movie.
I'm pretty sure those, from my understanding, is just somebody has to request it and then somebody does, kind of thing. But half the time they're just on YouTube or whatever, so it's just a matter of looking for it on YouTube sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know. It was very like I said, there was turns of I'm trying not to like give stuff away because I had actual like visceral reactions to as the story evolved, and I don't want to ruin that for other people. It's not like insane crazy or whatever. It's just like it's conflicting. Like you hear him talk, they interviewed him, and he's like an old dude sitting on a couch, and then he tells stuff, and then like they go to the other people that he was like talking about, and their version of the story is completely different. And you're trying to figure out kind of who's telling the truth, who's not, and just it was interesting. Lots of different stuff out there, and it's been on the top of my head. Like we watched it yesterday, so.
Well, you only watched it yesterday? You talked about this the other day.
I think I was watching it when I talked about it yesterday.
Oh, okay.
Or maybe the day before, but it was definitely, it's been recently. And that's when I talked about it because I was like, I need to like tell someone, has anyone else seen this? I need my gun channels people to give my opinion or give their opinion and see if it matches mine.
All right. So here's the official trailer that I was watching on the other channel.
Oh yeah, I kind of buried the lead. He shoots himself a lot.
Standard for our body armor is, will I stand there and shoot myself in the chest? Richard Davis was an icon.
I don't know. Richard's a lot. Richard's a lot. He's a truly operatic character.
What is the name of the Richard Davis opera?
Boom. There are certain parts of his body, I think, that are bigger than his brains.
Shot at it. The damn thing went right through the vest. Going, holy crap.
Yeah.
Not only was it me getting fooled, it was like everybody. If you tell anyone, I will kill you. He always seems to escape unscathed.
Somebody's gonna die.
3, 2, 1. When we have free will, bad things will happen.
Oh, it was barely in theaters December 2nd.
Wow,
So
that's
it's
fairly
only-
new.
Yeah, it's just barely brand new. No wonder it's not anywhere yet. I'm just looking at the comments there. Looks like you can watch 5 minutes of the dude, probably footage of the guy shooting himself. Then there's hour and 55 Second Chance versus Magnum Force VHS. So this is, except to say I'm glad finally discovered this tape as well. There's 3 small segments missing due to copyright, including vintage footage of him testing his vest for the first time, which is now inexplicably owned by A&E. But there's so much left to enjoy. I originally uploaded this in the spring of 2020 on my old channel, which YouTube deleted after 600 videos. Just blah, blah, blah. Look at the Edge weapon shout out in the credits.
No economically comfortable person
So this is from 1989.
or a person who's right line on a big wall.
So this is like the actual product that he would have made that they probably talked about in that video that you watched, or the documentary.
And something I've frankly never done before. No one will do, really. Anyway, this is it here. This is the same knife I was putting through those other vests. It's the same hands and everything else. And see, the maximum penetration I could get on that was right there. That's hitting that thing as hard as I could. With on the forward without getting lost twice. First, we have Class 1. You're Grand County Sheriff Department, Whitford, Oklahoma. What's your job there? I'm sheriff. The sheriff. Not one minion or anything. You're how many shots did you fire? I discharged 6 rounds. 6 rounds, and you had how many hits? 4. 4 hits, that's pretty good. The purpose of what I'm trying to illustrate to you here today is to show you that
Nice. I guess that was too much for Smeggy. He had to jump out. That's super cool. I just found this over here on the side of when I was looking at the, what do you call it, the trailer for that movie. Here is a second chance combat shoot from 1986. I think I found a new
Wendy's fries are always hot and
gold
crispy. So
ticket worth of something to search for.
Yep.
So I this is kind of reminds me of the Johnny Roland shooting show. These were the VHS tapes that would have been being made, well, I guess a little bit before Johnny Roland was doing his satellite TV show. So it sounds like Second Chance must have been something like a Soldier of Fortune shoot, sort of an exhibition shoot to show people all this cool stuff. And he's probably selling his body armor along the way. So he's got a bunch of bowling pins and stuff out there.
1983, that's coming quickly. And sure enough, in 1984, we had this event started. We called it the premature ejaculation event. When you see it fired, you kind of realize why that name kind of fits. Down at the bottom of the tree.
I was the first Canadian to attend in 1977. Holy crap.
Moving targets.
I'm finding out about an old shoot that I didn't even know about.
Two of the targets 6 times, 2 of the targets 8 times, and then holding back 2 rounds to 2 bowling pins, which get added into the score as bonus points. And the whole thing is multiplied together, so we have a final score of somewhere close to 74,000 points would be the perfect score. How big is a computer that does all this? Pocket size cap. Is that right? That sounds very complicated. No, it's not that. Well, how can you possibly remember how many shots you got on each target? Well, what the purpose of the thing for the fellows that shoot it is to get a.
Oh, this looks like gold. An hour and 30 minutes of 1986 full auto weird competition shooting with like 1986 guns.
Oh, that could be cool.
Muzzle down range or no score. Oh, and they're winging hand grenades. Awesome. You hardly ever wing hand grenades anymore. Winging hand grenades and then shooting a revolver, a la 1986.
That's old school.
I love it. So this is a so this is essentially some VHS tapes that people posted. Back in the olden days, I used to work at this place, and we'd make food, right? And could go across the street to this place that would rent. Well, it was a karate school, but they had videos for rent, and it was a whole bunch of like how to use chacos or how to like ninja techniques, but like VHS tapes that would teach you this stuff. And then they'd have these kind of videos, like Second Chance videos and Magnum Force. I remember renting them, but at the time, everybody was a Yahoo, and a pump shotgun was tactical or whatever. So, watching any of this stuff was all like, oh, cool or whatever, but I didn't retain any of it. So I'm wondering if I've seen any of these or not. I mean, they're not really ringing a bell, but again, this would be almost like watching a TV show or something, but there was just no cable channel to push this kind of stuff out. So the only way you could see it is on a VHS tape. So I knew there was the Soldier of Fortune shoot, then that lasted for a number of years. So this Second Chance shoot must have been either to compete with it or to maybe it was a different time of year or something like that. But I'm going to have to look into that at some point. That's pretty neat. So thanks to Smeggy for the suggestion. I know he talked about that the other day. And then we watched oh, wait, the heck is this? Oh, look at this. Here it is right here. It's on YouTube. It's on YouTube, and you can buy or rent the movie on YouTube. So I don't even have to go to Amazon. Have you ever bought a movie on YouTube before?
I have, yeah.
What do you do? Just subscribe to it or something? Or how do you buy it?
I don't
Oh, right,
remember.
you click this button right here, buy or rent.
Yeah.
$6 to rent it. And then $12 to buy it. And I guess then you could just watch it as many times as you wanted, I guess.
Right.
And then does it say like how many times you get to watch it to rent it? Just once?
I don't know.
I don't either. So that's an interesting though. So I may end up watching it. I'm not going to say that we're going to there's no way we're going to do any kind of a thing that would be except for everybody watching this separately. $4 to rent it in a red box. Is that those machines that exist?
Yeah.
Where like they're vending machines? Oh, I'll totally go get one. Wait, I don't have a DVD player anywhere. Is there a DVD player on this machine? Come on, be a DVD player. Nope, that's a Wi-Fi switch. I don't think that computer has a DVD player either. Oh, no. I have a DVD player. I bought one time because I didn't have any DVD players anymore. I'm almost positive I have a DVD player that you can rent Redbox online. I didn't even think about that, but you don't even have to go to those kiosks anymore, huh?
Oh, that's cool.
Sort of like back in the day with, what's that other thing called? Netflix.
Netflix, yeah.
Can I go to Netflix and just pay to watch one movie? Or do I got to buy Netflix for a while?
I think you have to subscribe to it.
Now, I wonder if there's some sort of a deal where I could get, like 30 days free and just watch the movie that way. I got to probably type it in here. Second. Wow, there's a lot of second chances. Oh, here it is. Rent on demand, $3.99. Nice. So that's a cool tip for anybody that's interested. If you're about to buy something to watch on YouTube, go watch it on standard definition over here on the red box and save yourself, $2? And I forgot what it was on Amazon. I think it might have said how much it was on Amazon, probably $6.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Honcho saying $4.99. Is this the place to declare your AR pistol brace and get your free $200? Here's how it works. For every pistol brace you 3D print, we will give you a $200 stamp, which you can apply to send postage USPS. So it's a pretty good deal.
That's a good deal.
The rentals are 24 hours. That's what I figured. They probably let you watch it over and over a couple of times in case dog's puking or kids are yelling or something. You can watch it again. It's kind of like, I think that's how a hotel works, right? You rent something at a hotel, they let you watch it for the rest of the day or something.
Which is nice, like if you fall asleep in the middle of it or something like
Yeah,
that.
exactly. Or like I say, you're cooking popcorn and it burns, and now you're like running around during the half of the movie. When renting, start within 30 days, finish within 48 hours. So it says Redbox, you get it for 2 days online. It's pretty neat. I never even thought about that. You can just go online and you don't even have to have a DVD player. So there, boom, a whole bunch of stuff everybody learned tonight. I'm gonna hit refresh. I think we got 2 more backers, or am I crazy? I think it was at 6 before. Now it's at 8. How do I tell? I want to click the thing that'll tell me here because
Yeah, I think it says 8 right next to the 350. Yeah, 8 back.
No, it says 8. I just can't remember when the last 2 came in. Let me go to Insights. Maybe that. I don't think this will show anybody's name. This is just like a little graph, kind of a summary. Yeah, I don't want to keep going down. At some point, it starts telling about people's names and stuff, but it's only been going for 3 days, so it's sort of a junky looking graph here, but I can't really tell how to read this. Yeah, I can't tell. Anyhow, thanks to does it last updated less than a minute ago? That doesn't. Let me just move it over here real quick so I don't show anybody's name. Perks report. Oh no, that still doesn't tell me when. Okay, well I guess I'm not going to tell easily. I'm too rusty. I've done a lot of them, but I haven't done any of them recently. So again, thanks to, yeah, exactly. I'm not used to where to look at stuff. But there's a month, so thanks to everybody who's participating. Like I say, I'm figuring I need about 140, 150 people to participate. The first 10, I'm going to give a bunch of extra stuff from SHOT Show to. The first 25 will get something also, just to kind of help say thanks to get everything rolling. Once a project is off and rolling, typically people start to feel more comfortable with it, and then they start to participate. The more people we get participating right off the bat at the beginning of it, the more potential there is for the platform, Indiegogo, to promote it just in general. And this one isn't guns. This one isn't even a gun-looking thing. If you scroll down, there is a gun on there. But, it's not really a gun one. And I guess technically, if you scroll down over here, you're going to see a gun also. But because it's not a gun one, maybe I can get this thing out on the rest of Patreon, or not Patreon, Indiegogo. And again, help share it. If you want to jump into it, be part of it, thanks for that. Once I've got the thing up and running, I'll be able to say thanks even more so to the people that participate in it. I just don't want to bite off more than I can chew and offer too much to people right off the bat until I actually get the thing and get it up and running. But like I say, once I get this thing up and running, we'll have a whole nother level of patch fun, because whatever I could do before with one needle and one color, I should be able to do times 15, because this thing can do 15 colors. So anyway, thanks to the people that are participating in that. I'm going to wrap this thing up. We're an hour and something into it, and it is the middle of the night. Thanks to Gizzard for joining.
You bet.
I'll keep sending links out to people. I know it's a late night show, but the goal is to stay up all night and have some fun chatting about guns, 2A, and then, ideally, once it's up and running, I'm looking for sponsors so that I can take a nap in the afternoon and then like really prepare for the show, like really put some effort into it. Because in the big scheme, I'd like to be able to go live for like 3 hours, let's say. First hour, talk about 2A, talk about important stuff. Second hour, just talk about guns and the general kind of topics and whatnot. And then that last hour, kind of prepare for people that are listening in the morning, because it would actually be an overnight show. So those people listening in the morning, people getting ready to start their day at a gun shop or at some kind of gun industry situation, give them kind of 3 things you need to know today, like 3 things that'll get you going, the history of what's going on, today, the calendar of events, what's on the horizon, and that kind of thing. It'd be a fun, at least that's the way I think that'd be a fun way to run an overnight show.
Yep.
Puppy's so excited that he's backward sneezing about it. I think it's when I pet him. I think he's probably got some tender lungs still, and I think when I pet him, he's what do you call, like, kind of startled, and he inhales, and I think his lungs are a little raw from having the cough still. So sorry about that, puppy. But anyhow, I've just started petting him here as I'm wrapping up, and I think I made him, kind of startle. I'm probably missing stuff in the chat. If I am, I apologize. Feel free to leave comments after the show is over. If you're listening to this in the future as a regular old video, feel free to leave us some comments. Let's see. We had G23 in here earlier. He jumped out. He hosts a show every Saturday afternoon, typically. Join in his conversation about guns. You've got Smeggy jumps in. He often joins people. Occasionally, Smeggy will go live on an Every Second Matters and kind of talk nerdy about Second Amendment topics. He'll occasionally just start a live chat and invite people in to have conversations. And then he participates in the comments and all kinds of people's videos. Gizzard, you go live every Friday. You want to tell people about your projects?
Friday night, 9 p.m., Foul Territory, and that's where we have everybody in for 2 hours, 9 to 11 p.m. every Friday to talk about gun stuff, and then we give away some swag, and we share a few pictures of some of the stuff you may have gotten, and we have some good discussion and everything, so appreciate everybody who can stop by for that.
Yep, thanks for hosting that for so long. And of course, you got your knife shorts going up. Now, you've made a couple of videos. Do you have any like other knife projects coming out of SHOT this year?
Well, what I will have is some reviews to do. As far as company interviews, I've put all those online, and I've got lots of shorts in the can waiting to be released. I mean, literally dozens. So now it's a matter of me actually doing some full-length reviews on some knives and stuff like that, and refining the art of doing that. There's one I actually did bring, a company provided for me for review at SHOT Show. And I'll be doing a review on that, plus some other things, trying to sharpen my skills, if you will, on evaluating knives and telling you what I like and don't like about them. And hopefully everybody will enjoy those.
I mean, I think they're, in a lot of ways, way cooler than the 10 or 15 minutes, kind of almost desperately looking for things to talk about, because there's just, I mean, unless you're really into it, the knife design or some aspect of it or some detail about it, it's just it's overload. You don't need that much data about, when you're making a comparison, for example, or you're making that final decision on what color to get or something. So I think there a lot of potential there.
But there's so many different kind of knives, you got this mechanism, that mechanism. This one works better for somebody with big hands. This one works better for somebody with small hands. This one's better suited for this, hunting. This one's better for pocket carry. So all kinds of different things to look at and, decide whether or not you like them on a knife. So
Well, exactly. But then once you let's say you go sheath knife or folding knife, and then you're like, type of blade or material or size, whatever the characteristics are, you get it down to, there's always going to be like 5, 3, 7, some number of them that are close enough to each other that you're making that decision. And
Oh, yeah.
that's where, when you go to put them next to each other in a store or something, you're going to see a still image, but what's between that still image, just one image, and then like a 10-minute video. Well, now it's like what you're doing, opening it, flipping it, looking at it in your hand, and seeing it open and closed. And in less than a minute, you can literally get those 5 and comb back and forth between them. I just think, like I say, there's a lot of potential there. And once people experience that that's an option, why would you watch a 15-minute video about somebody? I mean, what could you possibly know, or what could you possibly be saying for 15 minutes when you've already decided this is pretty much the knife I'm going to go with, or maybe that other one? Or if it's like that, maybe the blue one or maybe the yellow one. You don't, that's the only decision you're making. That's where, like, the little shorts, I think, like I say, are going to have a lot of potential.
Oh, yeah.
But then on top of it, putting it on Amazon, right? And like the whole idea of like the person on Amazon who's already at the last brink before they're about to click purchase or buy now, again, deciding yellow, or wait, do I want the belt clip on this one, or do I want the belt clip on that one? And if they got a choice between 15 minutes and having to figure out where it is that they show the belt clip, and they get used to the little chicken that just gives them the knife and the clip and the opening, like I say, I think there's a lot of power there. And then I haven't done this in forever, because I mean, I've talked about it. I used to go to SHOT Show, and I knew Cricket, I knew Spyderco for sure. I knew Benchmade, a lot of the people there, and SOG was really cool. Victorinox was always a different people, but they were always very nice to us. And like I made those rounds every year. Did I say KRKT, or I called them Cricket? And I might be missing a knife company or two. And then there's always more than that, but and so I would explore more than that. But those are the ones that I had a pretty decent relationship, and I could go up for years. I would go up to them at SHOT Show, and I'd pull out my piece of multicam, because I did all my videos on a piece of multicam, so there was a consistent background that didn't have any reflection. And they would know after the first year or two that they would just bring over whatever knives they felt like, and I would film a short video for each one. And if, like you say, on Thursday or something, they had their stuff down, they knew that these were the ones people were interested in, they'd be like, look at the blade on this one, blah, blah, blah. But now that I'm saying that, describing it, I never really touched these knives. Unless there was something interesting about one of them, I might pick it up. But I really was doing this as a commodity. I'm not that much of a knife guy. I was doing this to accomplish getting the knife videos made. I wasn't doing it because I had a passion for the knives, or I cared about the differences between them. So I really didn't pick up that many knives during that whole years of doing this. Anyway, so that was my thing, right? And then it's been years. It's been a long, long time since I did any of that. That was like 13. That was probably 12, 13, 14, 15 maybe. And I maybe did it in 16 or something. But it's definitely, I haven't even looked at a knife at SHOT Show. I hardly even did reviews at SHOT Show since 15, right? It's just that I probably kept doing the knife ones because I like those people and they were friends of mine and stuff. So anyway, it's been forever. I haven't opened knives, is what I'm getting at, in forever. Like, I'd never go to knife stores and just open knives. So I just filmed, I don't know, 800 files worth of knife videos. I mean, just tons of them. And I opened it. I'd go over to the knives, and they all use magnets now, which is awesome. I don't know if this is new to you, but they all use these magnetic knife displays. It's awesome. You can walk up and hold the camera in your one hand, pick up the knife, fiddle with it, put it back, and then turn off the camera with your other hand. So anyhow, after touching, I don't know, 1 billion knives on Friday, I was amazed at how different those knife companies are. Like, there's a couple of knife companies where there's no way I'm buying a knife from them. And then, because none of them are good. I'm sorry, but like
Right.
none of them open good. They are all a pain in the ass. And then you go to Wii or Civivi or whatever. I can't tell the difference. Holy moly, they're like Cadillacs. They're like Mercedes-Benz of knives, right? Like you look at them and they flip open and they're solid. They're all frame locks. That's the only thing I don't like frame locks all that much. But wow, do they open good? I don't know if it's the ball bearings. I don't know. You talk to them. Like, is it the ball bearings or is it
Yeah,
just
they use ceramic
designs?
bearings in those things. Yeah.
Whoa. And then there's like some other ones. I guess I can't remember because it was such a fire hose of stuff. I think Boker, I was pretty stoked, but they were
Boker, yeah.
hit or miss.
I
Some
like
of them
Boker.
sucked and some of them were like magic. But some of them are like $500, right? So
Oh, yeah.
and it wasn't necessarily like the $500 one was the best or anything. But anyway, yeah, I was just totally stoked. Now, once I post them all, like I'll eventually have the time to go in and post all those things, and I'll probably try to remember some of it at that point and do some kind of review, just because it blew me away how like, I mean, I don't want to talk crap about the companies that suck, but there's one company that is a 4-letter word that I would think I've liked them in the past, but I've always bought very inexpensive knives from them. And their knives are just like opening sandpaper that's rusted shut or something. Like it really hurt to open them and they were sharp. And I'm like, you're a company that makes things out of metal that go in your hand. You really couldn't file this thing down before you brought it to SHOT Show? Like, people are hurting themselves just trying to close the thing. But I know that some of them are prototypes, and I don't know if I'm picking up prototypes. Like I say, I literally just walked up and did these reviews silently. But anyway, yeah, I was just amazed at how differently, like how much better some knives can open and close. And I mean, they were all sharp and they all looked nice. None of them were like poorly made. It's just that I'd say poorly designed or poorly. Is it crafted? I don't know. Maybe the like prototypes work good, but by the time they got to the production line, they got kind of grody. Or maybe am I just being wrong about it and don't realize that? Is it because they're at SHOT Show and that after 4 days of people fiddling with them, they just all needed to be cleaned or something? Is that a
It's
thing?
hard to say. But I know some of those, like We Civivi, for example. Well, a lot of those companies hire external designers to design their knives for them. And there are people that's what they do for a living is design knives. And they'll say, well, this design is Michael Jones, he's a famous knife designer. And these people design for various companies. It's kind of interesting how boutique it's became now. Knife making and stuff is a big business. And your websites like Smoky Mountain Knife Works, for example, they do millions of dollars in commerce every year. And that's basically all they do is sell knives.
Now, you have been there or no?
I have not. Sarge has. They've got a website. I've been on their website, that and Blade HQ. I've bought several knives from them. So they're
So,
just retail sites where you can buy various manufacturers' knives. Then they have their own special versions of it, like they'll have a special color that's only available on this website or something like that. That's kind of cool too.
yeah, when I was kind of before YouTube, when I was mostly doing websites and then a little bit of forums, some of the forums that I would dabble in were the EDC forums, knife forums, and that kind of thing. And that's the thing back then too. Like the forum, you could tell a forum was like really in its stride when they could figure out how to arrange and then get like their own color or something, like their own, I don't know, blade shape or something that was, you had to be in the forum or be part of the group buy or whatever. And that was kind of a cool happening. You'd go to different forums and they'd have different things. And yeah. Oh, dang, I was about to say something about, Smoky Mountain Knife Works. So did you ever get a Smoky Mountain Knife Work catalogs back in the olden days, way before the internet,
No, I didn't.
80s and 90s?
I'd never heard of them up until a couple of years ago because Sarge is real close to where their main store is.
I think they only
guess.
have the one store, yeah.
Right.
It's right next to Dollywood now, but it's always been there. So, do you remember, you've seen like a Bud K catalog?
Yeah.
So and that's kind of a newfangled version of a catalog still, because at least back, I don't know if they still do, but at least they were the last catalog I remember seeing that had knives and stuff in it. So imagine more like a Shotgun News, because the Smoky Mountain Knife Works catalog was a newspaper and it was bigger like a Shotgun News. And I don't think, maybe you could get it at the newsstands or something, but you would order it. And I think back in the olden days there was no internet yet, you would, if you were interested in stuff, you could go to a gun show or you could buy a magazine. And in a magazine, at the end of the magazines, there'd be classifieds. And it was like you could get a Smoky Mountain Knife Works catalog by writing into the back of a magazine or maybe calling a phone number with a long distance call back in the old days, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you would get these Smoky Mountain Knife Works catalogs. So long story short, longer story longer, like Smiggy would say. I'm a little kid and I'm in Scouts, and Smoky Mountain Knife Works is essentially a website back in the day. Like, like you could get this knife catalog. You could be driving to a camp out or something, and the whole way out there, you could be going, oh, I'm going to buy this knife, or I'm going to buy that knife, or I'm going to buy this one. And if I ever get, 2 or 3 things to happen, I'm buying this one. And, there'll be swords in there. There'd be all these, Victorinox type of knives, right? There'd be, just like a knife, like a Bud K catalog, except way bigger. And anyway, so we'd be drooling over all these knives. And then each year there'd be a new Smoky Mountain Knife Works catalog. And if I remember right, there was other stuff in there it was worth keeping a Smoky Mountain Knife Works catalog around because it was just so cool. Anyway, so then, so it was a catalog thing. And I had bought, I don't know, a lot of knives through it via the catalog, right?
Right.
At some point, we're driving somewhere because back in the day, our thing was to go look at not my thing. The family's thing was to go look at Civil War battlefields. Super boring, but anyway, I've seen pretty much all of them. At some point, this when I'm a little kid, right? This is back in the 70s and 80s or whatever. So we're going to be driving to a Civil War battlefield somewhere, and then Smoky Mountain Knife Works is on the way, and I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, we're going past Smoky Mountain Knife Works. And I don't remember what year this was anymore, but I was probably 5th or 6th grade or 4th grade or somewhere in there. And I mean, I knew this was coming, and I don't know how long I saved for, but I had like every money I could ever come up with because we were going to Smoky Mountain Knife Works. And this is, like I say, back in the old days. And we finally stopped there, and I'm drooling over the catalog the entire way, coming up with 1,800 different ways to spend how much money I had. And I still have 1 or 2 of the knives from that trip. But anyway, Smoky Mountain Knife Works was this massive, massive, massive metal building. And it's just like it's like a gun show, except one person had every table at the gun show. Like it was just a gun show with knives on every table. And that's how they did their inventory. Like they would just buy, like 100 knives. They just go to some empty table and spread 100 knives on the table. And if somebody ordered them from the catalog, I imagine somebody went around with like a basket or something and would just go to like the Spyderco table or whatever, like the buck knife table, and just like look for the model. Because it was, it's just all out on these tables. So yeah, I was just, or have you ever been to like a fireworks store? It was kind of like a fireworks store, except knives.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was my first experience, like just running all around. And there was a couple of display cases, but it was mostly just tables of knives. And I can't even remember, let's say $100, like a lot of money at the time. That would be like having $1,000 today. Like I just had all this money, and I might have even had a bunch of money from my friends. So like a couple of knives, I didn't have any choice. Like I was buying knives from my friends, but I got to go to Smoky Mountain Knife Works and buy these knives for them, right? Save them shipping. And I got to buy all these extra knives. So I'm pretty sure I got like a set of handcuffs for free. I got something else for free, like, some ninja thing for free, because this was the Arrow and I was buying ninja stuff. And I still have a couple of those knives. They were just all garage sale or type of knives, or not garage sale, but like gas station type of knives, like gun show types of knives. They were nothing. Well, they had everything. So they had probably a lot of good stuff that I was not even paying attention to. Probably some like surplus stuff that I probably should have been buying. But I'm in there buying the nunchucks and the whatever daggers and stupid shit. Anyway, then years later, anytime I go near that part of the country, I stop by, and their building now is way nicer, and it's sort of on the side of a hill, so it's a multi-story. I don't know what they call that, like when it's split level, I guess, when they're not necessarily like 3 stories, but it's like 8 stories, but they're all kind of split level. They're not really on top of each other.
Right.
And then behind it, if you go there ever today, look behind there, and that metal building is what it used to be. And I think that metal building is probably just like a warehouse now. But yeah, I really, really like that store. And just neat that, like I say, since I was a little kid, I've been able to go to that store every 10 years or something, it seems like. I guess every 20 years now that I'm older.
I was walking through SHOT Show. I think it was the first or second day I was there, and I had this Smoky Mountain Knife Works shirt because Sarge had bought each of us a shirt, so we'd all have matching shirts a couple of years ago. And anyway, I had somebody yelled at me from about 10 feet away, "Hey, nice shirt." And I looked at them, and they had on the same shirt. And they said, "Hey, well, we're with Smoky Mountain Knife Works. Where'd you get the shirt?" And all this stuff. So I kind of got to meet the 2 guys that are in charge of it now and stuff like that. And that was pretty cool. So they gave me a business card and said to get in touch with them and stuff. So that was pretty awesome that I just happened to run into them at SHOT Show.
Hold on, I was sitting there typing to they're talking about Sarco. Are you saying you met the people from Smoky Mountain Knife Works?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's super cool. So is it a family thing?
It's just 2 partners, I believe.
Okay. I wonder if, like, when they bought it, or maybe they bought it from the original place and moved it, or if they just got so big that they moved it, or imagine the internet had something to do with it, plus Dollywood. It's like on a street going into Dollywood from the highway, and there's like fireworks, the knife place, and the place next door to it is Dutch ovens and that kind of thing, like cast iron pots and pans and Dutch ovens and stuff. What do you call it? Like a factory seconds place, like where you buy all the, I don't know if it's seconds, but a
Like
factory
a pottery
store.
barn type thing almost.
No, just the one company, like Lodge or whatever that company is that
Oh,
makes
okay.
cast iron, but like
I
their
got
factory store. So I'm assuming it's cheaper there, but it's like on the road into Dollywood. So it's all stuff that, like is Americana or like good stuff. It's like cool stuff. Like there's like a boot place. So it's like that kind of road. So it's, like, I don't know what to call it, like factory outlet type of stores.
Okay.
Now, I don't know. I've never been all the way down to Dollywood, so it kind of comes south from the highway. I've only ever gone as far as Smoky Mountain Knife Works, but I don't know if it's more stores or if it turns into something else. I think there's something else there, like you either parachute into a lake or you do some kind of zip line into a lake or something. There's like some kind of an attraction like that there too. All right, we just got to 10 backers, so I just went over and refreshed the Indiegogo thing. That takes us to 6% of the goal, and it's just like basically the first day, essentially. So again, thanks to everybody. I will, I'm basically going to go through, I think, and sort out some of the stuff from SHOT Show. And, whatever I can find 10 of, I'll be putting those in piles, and then that'll be like the first set for the 10. And then I don't have 25 of anything, so I'll have to come up with some other ways to say thanks to like the first 25. As I mentioned before, I won't get all into it, but those initial people who jump onto a project are what give it the initial momentum. So it's definitely much appreciated. And I don't know if Indiegogo allows you to say something like, we're going to give you even more, but you know the deal. I try to give people more for their buck and not, I try to undersell on the project so that I can definitely offer more, but nobody gets upset if I, whatever the more is, it's kind of random.
Oh, yeah.
All right, with that being said, thanks again to Gizzard for joining in. Thanks everybody for letting us kind of ramble tonight. But yeah, we're trying to talk about guns overnight and give the people who are up in the evenings something actually to listen to. If you're listening to this in the morning, give us some feedback. I see Alan Anchor is out there. Thanks for joining us. We'll be working with more and more with them as we get closer to going over and grabbing their robot off of them. But also they're helping out with the show. So well, actually, I think I might even have a quick way to. Oh, no, actually, I deleted it. I used to have a commercial out there for them. So instead, I'll do this little silent commercial for barbecue. Isn't that nice? I don't know why I made that, but I was playing around with the software, and that was the first thing I came up with. Here's a
That's
real
cool.
commercial from Foster.